mark. Like, I haven't exactly decided what I'm calling this video exactly. It's kind of like a general prediction video for episode 7 in that sense, but I'm taking you on a journey today.
The Neo prediction platter.
Exactly.
Take whatever you feel.
Yeah, because, like, Neo has not been seen since episode 3, which...
And we only have 4 episodes left.
You know, I don't want to criticize too much because we literally just got here. I still think that the first couple episodes were fun.
Listen, at least you're not in a house. You're not gonna stay in Jean's like little hut.
That's what I kind of mean, right? Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes it just kind of feels like that, like, oh, we're spending a lot of time on this. Oops, we forgot about, you know, the antagonist for the volume. Better go deal with that, right? Because, like, again, I still liked the other episodes, but some RWBY volumes, you kind of get that vibe that it's like, ah, shit, we did all this, and then we realized we're running out of time, and we don't have the budget for, like, 3 more episodes to deal with this shit, right? And so anyway, that's a whole other story. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is because Neo has not been seen for 4 episodes. What is she doing? Or 3 episodes, 4, whatever, like, episode 3.
I think they wanted to show us the possibility that Roman would come back, and then they just held on that and dangled it over our head like a set of keys.
So, let's talk about Neo, okay? Like, Neo is kind of this presence throughout, like, at least the last 2 episodes of the volume, just because, like, she makes the Jabberwockers. We know she's around, we know she's plotting, but we don't really know what she's doing.
Them.
Yeah, she attacked them, but she was not actually visible, right? And so, I had a theory that Neo was going to take over Wonderland, which you guys may have seen last week. However, we did not get that, and so I'm kind of like reformatting my idea. But here is my prediction, generally, for episode 7 as it relates to Neo, and then also just everything in general, okay? So the episode opens, and RWBY is having a nightmare, and it's very clear that it's a nightmare. It kind of takes in the same place as the herbalist clouds, right? And in this nightmare, we see the people that RWBY has gone up against, in a sense, in the past, right? So we see Ironwood, right? And, like, Ironwood being like, I told you that it didn't matter because Salem's going to destroy the world anyway. Like, we get, like, that dialogue. We get maybe past self RWBY, and this is where we see Salem. A lot of people think that the Salem head is on the Jabberwocker. I think that Salem is in RWBY's nightmare because they're resting at John's house, supposedly. Hopefully they'll fucking rest, right? And so my idea is at the beginning of next episode, RWBY has a nightmare, and this nightmare is about all of the people. Like, she's questioning whether or not they were right. Like, was Ironwood right? That's a point in last episode, was that RWBY just casually, like, quotes Ironwood.
Yeah, so right? You sound like Ironwood.
And so I think, like, she's gonna have a nightmare about all these people, and it's going to end and build up to Salem. Now, there's 2 ways this could go. RWBY sees Salem, and then she starts hearing, like, RWBY, and it's Yang shaking her awake. Like, we have to go because everything is on fire. Hold that thought. The other thing is that I think that this would be a great time when RWBY is doubting herself about being the hero to go back to volume 3 and have Roman's like, this world doesn't care about spirit, right? The speech he gives to her. You're so determined to be the hero of Vale, aren't you? Right? Like, that would be pretty fucked up because now RWBY doesn't think that she's a hero anymore. And Roman was one of the only people that have really called that out about RWBY, that you can't actually save the world. Like, I guess Salem has, but RWBY wasn't there when Monstra was there. She was only there when Salem did the Seergrim thingy in volume 7. So I'm saying that broadly, like, Roman is kind of the person that, like, called RWBY out in terms of, like, you're just determined to be the hero, but guess what? Heroes don't exist. Why don't you go and die like every other huntsman in history? And then maybe she sees Summer, I don't know. But anyway, so she thinks that this is a nightmare, and maybe it's like the last person we see is Roman, not Salem. And so, like, RWBY wakes up from the dream, and everyone disappears, but the Roman is real. Like, Roman is real in the fire. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she thinks everyone else is fake, but
that ginger twink, that's not a hallucination.
No, yeah, really. So, like, one idea is I have Yang waking her up. Like, RWBY, we gotta go. Like, everything's burning down. We gotta go. We gotta get out of here, right? So, that's
bowler
idea
hat
1.
bastard came back.
No. That's without Roman yet.
I see.
So, one idea is that she sees Salem, she screams, and Yang wakes her up. Because like, you know when you have one of those nightmares, but it's actually happening to you in real life to some extent?
Well, I mean,
like,
yeah, my house has been burnt down
like,
several times.
You feel like
by
dripping water, and like
pilot.
you think that you're drowning, but it's actually like a hole in the ceiling. Like those sort of things. Like when people have nightmares because they're experiencing something, like a sensation in real life, and their brain is misinterpreting it, right? So Ruby is having a nightmare because the entire village is on fire. So one option is that Yang wakes her up. The second option is that Roman is actually in the nightmare, and she wakes up, but Roman is still there whacking her, right? And so that's when we realize that Neo is in the village and everything's on fire. Now, here's the thing. I kind of want Roman to be more, like, climactic than that as a reveal.
Don't you like the idea of jump scare Roman?
Having Roman in Ruby's dream is kind of not the same build-up or the same, like, I don't know, because it's so obvious that he's there, if that makes sense. Like, it would be obvious that he's there. We would literally see him in his new model. Whereas if he kind of comes out of the shadows, that would be different.
You think we're going to see, like, Roman redesign?
So, here's what I think is going to happen. Whichever version of the nightmare that you believe, right? Sure. The village is on fire. Neo is burning down John's house. Because it's all made out of paper. And in the books, in the novels, first of all, Neo kind of likes to burn things. Like, there's an implication that she lights her house on fire and thinks that it's pretty. And, well, she didn't mean for her parents to there.
Maybe she didn't mean to it, but she wasn't that bothered by it.
So in the books, Neo is trying to break a lock off her door. And so she uses hairspray and a lighter to break the lock, and the entire door catches on fire. And so she has to escape, and the whole top floor of the house burns down. Like, the bottom is fine, but the first floor of the house is fucked. And she says that it's pretty. That could just be because it's her house. That could be because she's an arsonist. I don't know what to tell you, right?
Her house also explodes, correct?
Right, but that's at a different point in Roman Holiday. That's not the same point. But yeah, and so I feel like that Neo finally, like, the next episode actually starting to ramp things up could actually be that literally Ruby wakes up from the nightmare and everything is on fire, right? And so I kind of like that Yang's waking her up and they're trying to put it out with dust or whatever. I don't know what, you know, like things that these paper people have in place. Maybe they have sand. That's what we have backstage at like shows and stuff. We have a bucket of sand to put out a fire because water's not actually that
effective,
reliable.
That makes sense.
Sand is better, right? So I don't know what these people have. Maybe they have sand from the beach. They're trying to do their best, right?
These poor paper people.
I know.
Sand.
And so then, like the plagues in Prince of Egypt, okay, we see all these Jabberwockies.
Or Exodus? I'm pretty sure the biblical story comes before the border.
The Jabberwockers are like in the village killing and eating people, and John's trying to fight, and like Team Ruby's trying to fight, like, you know what I mean? And there's all these fire and these flames, and then like in the center of all of the chaos, like is Neo, and Neo walks in, and she walks in through the flames, and she looks down at Ruby menacingly. And that's the dramatic Roman reveal, is that I drew this piece of art that has Neo in the flames and Roman's face in the fire.
Oh, that's the inspiration for that.
Yeah, and so like we see Neo in the flames, but then Roman is real and walks behind her. And so that's like, ooh, like that's the good
somehow
shit.
Somehow my house is on fire and yet it just got worse.
And then, like, they think it's just Neo, but then behind Neo is Torchwick, and they're like, FBI? Like, what is going on? Okay, so then Roman is there, all right? So y'all gotta bear, because that would be a reveal. Like, that we think it's just Neo, but then Roman comes through the fire. Like, that would be such a good reveal. Like, I think that would be great. Yes, exactly, okay? And so then, they have a fight with Neo, and there's fight.
This is what fighting looks like.
Now, okay, the Punderstorm. I have a theory that the Punderstorm is not random. Like, it could be, I guess, but I think that it's actually a weather pattern that specifically arises when people are in conflict. Because Jean is in conflict with Team RWBY, the Punderstorm starts to manifest, basically. So what I think is going to happen is that it was not random that they happened to be caught in a Punderstorm. It was because there was already, like, pre-established or, like, going to be conflict, like the Ever After knew. Just like how when RWBY cries, right, like it starts to rain. When people are in conflict with one another, the Ever After solution is to put them in a Punderstorm and to try to get them to sort out their issues. So they fight. Neo and whatever, like Neo and RWBY fight, but then
Are we gonna get a Yang x Neo fight rematch?
Kind of, like
fun.
probably some nods to that for sure. But then the Punderstorm comes in, and they get caught in the Punderstorm again, which is why we see in the trailer that Blake, Weiss, and Yang are all in like a Punderstorm that looks similar to where Jean took Team RWBY, or I guess Weiss and RWBY, but it's not the same. And that's why it's in the trailer, because people were like, oh, but it's funny that in the trailer, RWBY's in the cloud area, and then Blake and Yang are in the stone area, even though it's the reverse. But that stone area is actually not the same as the one that we see Jean take Weiss and RWBY through. And so what I think would be very interesting is the idea that they get caught in a Punderstorm again. But the second conflict is about Jean not telling them the whole truth, which is like what Blake, Weiss, and Yang have to deal with. They have to deal with this idea that maybe Jean is not telling them the whole truth, or that Jean is lying to them, question mark. And they get caught in their own Punderstorm, whereas Neo and RWBY get caught in the separate kind of cloud Station 1. And then, after that, okay, RWBY is like, well, fuck. Right? She does not say fuck. Maybe she does.
I think Weiss should say fuck at least once.
RWBY, and like they're all freaking out and they're trying to get out because they know that RWBY's alone with Neo, right? And so they're trying to get out of their own like wibbly wobbly Punderstorm.
Timey-wimey.
You know, Neo and RWBY are alone. And so I feel like I don't know how RWBY would start this, because she does know from Jean that you either resolve the conflict or like
wait it out.
Wait, right? And so like I feel like that RWBY, like this is the headcanon I have, that RWBY is going to be the bluntness that Neo I think needs. In the sense that she's gonna be like, well, I hope you're happy now. Now we're both stuck here. Is this what you wanted? Right? Like she actually
You thought you got bubbly teenager RWBY. No, motherfucker, you got angry, depressed RWBY.
I think it would be good if RWBY actually goes nuclear on her a little bit. But like you would think that RWBY, you would think that maybe in the past, RWBY's like I'm not the one that killed Roman. You have it all wrong. Like I can see that being in past volumes, right? Yes. But not this RWBY. This RWBY has been through enough. RWBY's ready to snap, right? And so RWBY is like,
what if she beats the crap out of Neo at the same time?
Well, no, but they're on the bridge, right?
That's
so
true.
she would just be yelling. So I imagine her being like, well, like, is this what you wanted? I hope you're happy now. Like, what did I ever do to you anyway? Like, she basically has just a mental breakdown with Neo. Why did you need to follow us down here? You know that Cinder's gonna destroy the world. What could matter to you so much that you would work with her anyway? And so RWBY has kind of like angst dialogue, like I'd say angst dialogue.
So I hope that like
and so the fight scene would happen first, right? But like then they get caught in the Punderstorm, and RWBY kind of lets loose all the bad feelings that she sort of had because Neo is kind of the now easy target for it. So what I think happens is that RWBY is like, you know what? I would rather die than resolve things with you. And she jumps off the bridge, which is why in the OP we see RWBY fall. But like jumping off the bridge isn't actually like death or anything because it's not real. It's like a simulated space, right? She does that same scene like in Volume 8 where she wants Neo to come at her, but she actually just falls off because she's like, you know what? I would rather die than resolve things with you. Like she just has really like fucked up dialogue sort of thing. But when she falls, it's just into a new location. Like, you cannot escape the cloud bridge. Like, you may think that you can,
it could work the same way. Maybe that's why
it could also be Neo's the one who decides
Maybe that's why they do the Weiss thing where she falls through the hole, but she lands on top. Because that may have been setting up for this.
Yeah, that even if RWBY's just, like, you know what? I don't even care. Like, I don't owe you an explanation. Like, even if RWBY has angsty dialogues and right? Like she could just arrive somewhere else. And that's where I think the actual tea party comes in. And so part of episode 7 and then part of episode 8 is like, I don't know how many minutes. I say 5, but then 5 sounds too short. So I tend to settle on like 7 or 8 because I feel like that's a medium between 5 and 10. We get like 7.5
That's the exact
solid
medium.
minutes of Roman holiday references and Neo backstory. Because if RWBY asks, like, what did I ever do to you? Right? The actual question becomes answered. And, like, nobody has to jump off the bridge. You could always have it so, like, the Ever After knows that Neo can't talk, and so it manifests images as her response. Because we do see the area change when Blake and Yang kiss. We see that the platform in the surrounding area changes. So I wonder if Neo could do that, but, like, more crazily, where we actually, like, RWBY goes through, like, some of Roman holiday by accident, like, almost by accident, like, because she asks, what did I ever do to you? And Neo shows her, right? And I kind of have this fun idea that, like, if RWBY does jump off the cloud bridge, right, she arrives below and there's this, like, haunted mansion or something, right? And, like, RWBY's, like, kind of like, where am I? Like, kind of vibes, right? And so she goes through the mansion, kind of like, you know, Kingdom Hearts Haunted Mansion, whatever. Yes. And she goes into every room, and in every room is a different kind of Roman holiday reference. And so we kind of, the reason why we're getting this scene is to show, like, what Roman meant to her, right? Like, what, like, why do you keep coming after me? What did I ever do to you? And so you see, like, everything Neo went through and why Roman mattered so much to her was because Roman was the only person that ever truly cared about her. Now, the outcome of this, I'm not sure because, like, right? Like, you know, it's up in the air, really, like, what the outcome of this situation would be. I'm just trying to predict episode 7. I'm not trying to predict, like, Neo redemption or anything. However, I feel like that maybe, like, and I know that some people wouldn't like this, but I wonder if RWBY, the world kind of failed Neo in a way, and the reason why RWBY wanted to be a huntress was to protect people. You know what I mean? Like, you know you're in deep shit when the only person that loves you is Roman.
Do you
know what I'm saying? Like, I think
that's a good point, but do you think RWBY is in a terribly forgiving mood?
I don't want to say forgiving, but, like, Neo never actually did anything to her. I don't want to get into that debate. Like, Neo just tried to kill her. Like, Zuko just tried to kill Aang.
Just attempted
Zuko
murder.
just tried to kill Aang. They didn't hold him against him
don't
forever.
Worry about
you know what I mean? They didn't hold it against Zuko forever. But what I'm saying is that, like,
hold it against him.
They did. But, like, what if what RWBY sees is that Neo loved fairy tales and was waiting for someone to come save her. She says that in Roman Holiday. Like, you know what I mean? They mentioned the girl in the tower and, like, the magical wizard and stuff. And so, like, what if, like, the whole point of this flashback is to convey the fact that Neo waited for someone to come save her, and it wasn't a huntsman, it was Roman Torchwick. And you know that as a society, we are fucked if the only people who come to save us are the Roman Torchwicks of the world, right? So
You would not say no to that.
No, but I wonder if that could be something that RWBY realizes, is that, like, the reason why Neo is like this is because the heroes that she thought existed, like, the heroes that she read about in the fairy tales, like, the very thing that RWBY wanted to be never came to save Neo. So now RWBY's at a crossroads. Maybe it's like RWBY says, well, I'm not the hero either. Like, I can't, like, none of us can save you. There's no such thing as heroes to come and save you. You have to save yourself. And so what if arguing and fighting with Neo is actually a way to reinforce RWBY's identity as a huntress? Because she realizes that, like, maybe in another life, she would have wanted to save someone like Neo, right? That they're more similar than she thought. Like, she thought the heroes would come save her too. Like, you know, like, her and Neo share that commonality. And I think I talked about that on Twitter, so I may post that here. But the common thread between Neo and RWBY is that they both read the fairy tales, but only one of them was actually, like, only one of them kept believing in them, I guess. Yes. Right? And, like, ironically, the person who kept believing was Neo, not RWBY. Because RWBY has given up on the idea. Yeah, like, RWBY's given up on the ideas that heroes existed, but Neo believes that heroes did exist, but the hero was Roman. So they both have kind of a distorted view of heroes and fairy tales that way. And so what if the resolution to this is that RWBY realizes her role as a huntsman through arguing with Neo? That doesn't mean I think that Neo is going to be redeemed, but, like we've talked about, like, Neo redirection or Neo staying in the ever after. I think that at least I would like to see a speech, I think, where RWBY says, like, I understand you waited for a hero to save you, but I'm gonna tell you that there's no such thing. Like, we're all just people, and none of us have the answers. And Roman didn't have the answers either. He was just in the right place in the right time to be the hero that you needed, but that doesn't mean that he was the hero in everybody else's story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he wasn't
a good person. Like, and
he wasn't a hero in other people's story is a good way of.
You know, and I feel like that RWBY could even, well, I feel like RWBY also should mention that she didn't kill him, because that sounds like a justification for killing him, but she didn't, right? So I feel like the thing with that is also, like, you know, if you want to blame someone for taking the heroes away from you, it's Cinder and Salem, because Salem took my mom away from me, and my mom was my hero. Just like she took away Roman. Like, they could kind of, like, I feel like RWBY can weave that into this
redheads,
speech.
Can't you see?
Yeah, but I feel like RWBY can weave that into her speech for Neo. It's like, yeah, like, if, like, heroes don't exist, and Roman wasn't a hero, but if you're going to blame someone for taking him away from you, it's the same person that took my mother away from me, and maybe she wasn't a hero either. I'm still trying to figure that out, but we're all just people. Like, it's the people that they loved that were taken away. And so maybe there could be little bondy instead of fighty, right? And that's how
what's bondy
instead of fighty. And so I feel like that's how this would end. Is that, like, Neo and RWBY have this talk no jitsu, which I know some people don't like, but like a little jitsu.
A little
jitsu. That's fight, right?
Yes.
Okay, so a little fight, but like maybe even multiple fights, but like eventually the point of the Punderstorm
fight while you talk. That's the spicy
Yeah.
stuff, when you kick the shit out of each other while having a conversation.
But I still want my 8.5 minutes of Roman holiday flashback. So
you're never gonna get that.
Oh, I'm so
You're just not going to. Because, like, I mean, on one hand, I guess it makes sense because not everyone read that book.
Yeah, but like the important parts, like her father shaking her by the ankles, I feel like RWBY would feel kind of bad, you know?
Maybe.
But yeah, so that's my theory for episode 7. Neo's gonna burn down the village, and then they're gonna get caught in a Punderstorm, and they're gonna work it out. Now, I guess I should talk about Jean because I briefly mentioned the idea of Neo killing Jean. Here's the thing. If Neo kills Jean,
old school
that would
theory.
not, like, she couldn't come back from that. There's no way, unless they go back in time and bring Jean back. Like, there's no way that RWBY would forgive her for killing Jean. However, if the circumstances of the event kill Jean, that's not Neo's fault per se, and that may be a little more rectifiable. It would be fucked up if Neo and RWBY finally work through their differences and then they get back and find out that Jean's dead. But Jean is in the flames. But in the OP, he's in the flames, and so people thought that was the blacksmith because he ascended, but if Neo is causing the flames, see, that's why I'm like, how does Jean die and then RWBY forgive Neo? That doesn't seem
compatible.
Yeah, simpatico. Yeah, that's what I meant. So that doesn't seem simpatico with each other because
they're simpatico.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
Killing Jean and then rectifying stuff with Neo.
All right, guys, sorry about your blonde teammate,
seems
but
problematic. So
also, wait, couldn't they just, if they wanted to get Jean back, couldn't they just like
go to the time tree? Yeah, that's our other theory about that.
Or like, well, because like Jean would have just like. So briefly, there were two Johns.
But,
we already talked about that.
But like,
timey-wimey.
Anyway, so they can go back. Anyway, so my point is, like, if they permanently kill Jean, they can't, like, I don't know. I still think they could because I don't care. But, like, I don't think that viewers would accept redirection Neo if Neo kills Jean. Even if Neo kills Jean before her and RWBY, like, make up or something. Like, maybe what would happen is that we think Jean was killed in the fire, but he was killed by the cat. Could make more sense. Like, that could be, so they all think it was Neo, but it was actually not Neo. Like, that could be another trick, but like, because Jean is in the flames, if Neo burns Jean's house down, I'm a little concerned about Jean's safety, but like, I feel like that if they can go back in time and get Jean and like change the story, like our story cycle theory, then it would be like, then it would be okay. I know that sounds silly. Then it would be okay for Neo to kill Jean, but like if they actually like decide to go back in time and go back to the beginning and like try to fix things how they like, you know, we had the theory that they would try to do the story properly, right? Like if they actually went back and fixed things and they were with young Jean, I think that Neo could be forgiven.
Yeah,
you know, even if she kills Jean. But yeah, that's just the kill Jean.
We didn't like that Jean anyways.
Yeah.
You know? He might not even be a good Jean.
So that's that, I guess. But yeah, you guys, there was just like, also, Neo may kill Jean.
I love how like intimate detail of Neo and Roman and that.
And
like, oh yeah, also Jean might die.
Yeah, I don't really know. Like, he would die in the flames, but would Neo kill him? Or would it be an accident just because flames exist? Like, you know, but I feel like that they would still...
Accidental
Well, you know what?
inhalation of
Here's
smoke.
the thing, okay? Roman got eaten by a Grimm, and so people argue that it's not Ruby's fault that Roman died. But if Jean dies in a fire, like, is that so different from Roman dying by the Grimm? Because it's the circumstances that Ruby put Roman in made him die. The circumstances that Neo put Jean in made him die. So isn't that the same thing? Like, how is that different? Just because Neo was the one who started the fire, Ruby's the one that made Roman come out of the airship. And I guess you could argue, like, oh, well, you know, Ruby didn't make Roman do anything, but, like, nobody made John run back into that burning building for his scroll. He decided to go in there anyway. Like, you know what I mean? So that could actually be kind of an interesting parallel that, like, Ruby blames Neo for killing Jean, but how's that any different from Neo blaming Ruby for killing Roman?
For the same thing.
Because it's not really, other than maybe you could say that Neo set fire to the village more intentionally, but at the end of the day,
she's always intentional with her
else.
arsony.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, she didn't mean to kill him or stab him. She didn't care about Jean. He was just a casualty of her pursuit of Team Ruby, as Roman was a casualty of Ruby trying to stop the attack on Beacon.
It would be funny if there was like a, who is this person?
I just feel like the fandom wouldn't forgive Neo if she killed John by accident. But I would, because Ruby killed Roman by accident, and I didn't blame Ruby for that. By the way, Jean might die, but you know, whatever. I think that that's actually maybe
Juniper
the
death
answer.
theory.
Like, the answer is that they think that Neo did it, but it was the cat.
Also, the whole thing of him dying in the fire and him being based off of Joan of Arc.
Yeah.
That's definitely
and the cat has beef with Jean, right?
That's
so
true.
It would actually make sense if Neo didn't start the fire. She just, like, brought the Jabberwockers there. You know what I mean? She brought the Jabberwockers there, and she was hunting down Ruby, but it was the cat that set the fire. Then that's kind of like it wasn't Ruby who killed Roman. It was the Griffin. Like, it was the Grimm.
Yes.
Just like it was the cat. So the cat killed Jean.
Sure.
I think that that's good, actually. And that explains, like, why they could still forgive Neo, because Neo didn't do it. They find out that the cat did it.
The cat always does it.
Yeah, and so
Can't trust
anyway,
those
so that's a side situation.
Can't
but yeah,
trust those
I
cats.
hope you guys enjoyed. We will see you in the next one. Bye! I mean, do you have anything else to say? And did you have anything to add?
Because it's unhinged, and I mostly agree.
Oh, okay, you mostly agree.
Mostly.
Though. Okay, but yeah, we'll see.
It would be weird that you don't see, like, her seeing Roman for the first time. It's just
like,
Roman's
as the
there.
manifestation?
Yes.
Yeah,
that would be kind of throwing us in
But
the
they
deep
could
end.
do that, like, in a brief flashback, like when she first got, like, you know, if they're gonna do Roman holiday flashbacks, they could also flashback to her first realizing she can manifest Roman here.
Sense.
Roman, we're gonna see Roman, guys, we're gonna see Roman, I swear, we're gonna see Roman.
I feel like I've popped all the party poppers. I feel like I should give you that one.
I know, I feel like we're gonna see Roman. Anyway, we'll see you later, bye!
Bye.